are streaming live. Good morning. Happy Saturday, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Michelle Oliver, and I am the founder of EXPITALITY and TALKABOUT TV, which is a social platform for conversations, all things experiential hospitality. And I'm here this morning with Randy Hendrickson, who is Chief Strategist of EXPITALITY and also CEO of the Intrepid Group. We don't want to take time for our bios this morning, but you can learn more about us from the links in the show notes that will be below. So check out all of the things that we do. Today, I am so excited, Randy. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you. Every day is a great day.
It is, and today is our kickoff for a show that we're going to be streaming live every Friday morning at 8 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Mountain, where we're going to be sharing real conversations about field notes, experiences that we are having in the field with real clients, where we are helping them with their experiential hospitality efforts. So today I thought we would just start by talking a little bit about what experiential hospitality is. It's a big buzzword happening right now. And I'm going to exit this a little bit. There we go. And let's just give everybody an understanding of what we think experiential hospitality is, and maybe what the industry and how it's coming across to people. Good morning and welcome.
Well, good morning. Fun topic. This is, it's such a fun one, right? Because you and I talk about this stuff all the time. It's interesting what happens when there's a movement in any industry. There's a definition that comes up or a buzzword, and it becomes, latched onto and kind of pivoted this way or that. But, for EXPITALITY, as you and I have talked about so often, it's really kind of a simple concept. A guest-facing business always has to practice the best hospitality practices anyway. It's just de rigueur. It's what you do. But experiential is more like immersing in local cultures with other businesses, to have things to do while you're at a property. And as you and I've talked about so often, the place that you stay matters a lot, but the things you can do and experience matter just even that much more. So, simply experiential hospitality, I think to us is when I show up, what else can I do? Are there tours? Is there other stuff to do? Can somebody there help me understand the local community? I want to explore, learn, grow, elevate. And quite simply, that's what experiential hospitality is. It's just more than a place to stay. It's a way to live and to experience more new things. That's what makes it so fun.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's one of those things that is just so obvious that it's kind of funny that we even have to give it a title and talk about it. But at the same time, there's a reason for that, right? We often speak about how important language is. And so when the collective comes together and gives something a title, that proves how important that concept is to the general masses, right? And I think we all really are seeking experiences, and that it's not like we weren't already having experiences, but we want experiences that really matter to us. So from one perspective, experiential hospitality is whatever you as a human define it to be. Like, what does it mean to you? What do you want that word to mean? And I think when we're working with clients, that's honestly where we always start. Like, who are you and what do you want your guests to experience? So we get to make up our own definitions.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the fun, right? Because when you take any generic word like just hospitality itself, let alone experiential hospitality, everybody who thinks of the word is going to have a different iteration. And as you just said, why is that? It's because their definition is personal. Within a larger context of hospitality, the individual decides what they mean by that. And to your point, I think that's exactly what experiential hospitality is as well. What does the guest define it as? They're going to tell us what the brand is. They're going to tell us what the experience needs to be. Our responsibility is to provide a venue with just a whole bunch of things for anybody to decide what their definition of experiential hospitality is, and give them that platform to make it uniquely theirs. And, you know, again, to your point, there at some point when you boil it right down, it really is a very basic concept. And I think a lot of times, like we've talked about so many times before, you can add too many layers on top of a simple concept and it may lose some of its way. So when you just break it right down, again, as you said so beautifully, visiting with the client, who are you? Where have you been? Where do you see yourself going? And we're just going to assemble the tools around that to make sure that everything that can be possible for a guest is possible at that particular property. It seems simple. There's a lot of nuances to it, but at its core, it's just simply delivering on something that the guest wants and making sure they're satisfied.
Yes, there are a ton of nuances around it. It's like any simple concept that really matters to us. It's clear maybe in our imagination, but not always that simple to execute because we're dealing with, you know, circumstances, conditions, environments, and the most unpredictable thing of all, other human beings. So it's really, as you were speaking, I was thinking of how popular this return to nature is, you know, and glamping and all of this is really trending. So this does come back to the fact that people are seeking, I believe, and I know we talk about this a lot as well, though, a return to the core of what matters to them. And nature always seems to factor into that. So people are looking at more, and COVID pushed everyone outdoors anyway, right? So it's like, oh, there's this whole world out here that we built a wall to keep ourselves from. Now we want to return to that and have those experiences. So it's really fun, I think, because people have this opportunity again to define, what do I want? Whereas it used to be you go on a vacation and it's kind of like you put yourself at the mercy of the environment, right?
Right.
It's like
Right.
they're gonna, like, let's go there and then just see. But we really have this chance to say, I want wellness, or I want nature, or I want luxury, or I want both. Where do I find it? And more people are creating these opportunities and these novel experiences, so that the more we travel and engage with those, the more savvy we become and the more we understand what we even want. It's a whole new world, honestly, very exciting.
You know, I agree, Michelle. And it's like an old world brought new again, or a new world brought back to old world values or something. What I think what's really interesting from my perspective is there's a lot of businesses and a lot of industries that will say, who is our demographic? So we're going after millennials or Gen Z or something like that. Another business may say, we're going after the retiring boomer demographic. What's really amazing about this time and place in the experiential hospitality industry is those lines are completely blurred. So for a younger traveler, they want to get out, experience cultures and things and do and be a part of and get out in the nature, as you said. And interestingly enough, as was borne out from some recent conversations you and I had with some guests at a client property, the older demographic, people in their 60s, are saying, you know, I want that same thing. I want to go back to the basics. I want to throw it back to the olden time, not the olden times, but simplicity, the elegance of that, being in nature, being by yourself, or as integrated with anybody as you want to be. And isn't it really interesting at this time and place that what was formerly two different disparate demographics actually want the very same thing, and they're converging at experiential hospitality. It's a really exciting time to be in this.
I think that is such a significant point, Randy, that we are not splitting into demographics of age so much. And older people are, I mean, well, I don't know. I live in Colorado where everybody's healthy. When I flew back in, I was looking at, because we were down in Arizona, I got out at the airport and everybody is fit here. It's like, it's just a thing. But I think we have a longer lifespan now, and we have healthier maturity, let's say, instead of aging. And there are a lot of people that want those bucket list adventures, you know.
Yeah.
People are like, let's stretch out of our comfort zone. We were locked in during COVID, and everybody wants out of the cage, whatever they define their cage to be, whether it's a physical challenge, or it could be anything. It could be a wellness retreat. It could be extreme luxury. It could be roughing it, whatever it is. I think people are just looking at how can I be freer and experience more of what's possible. So the more the
Yeah.
industry listens, they can't listen the same way they used to listen, right? They have to listen to what does everyone want, and they shouldn't be limit. I mean, I shouldn't say should, but if they don't limit themselves to the old thinking, they're going to open up much more opportunity for themselves as business owners and operators as well. Same with RVs, right? Same
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
thing.
We were just talking about the different demographics, and they're merging at experiential hospitality, young, old, in between.
Yeah.
What's really interesting to me also is, whereas formerly you might have RV park or hotel, right? It was
Yeah.
going to be one or the other. And you stayed in an RV park. It was a fairly, I wouldn't want to say it was a predictable experience, but it was what it was. There's good ones, not so good ones, and what have you. Hotel, you show up, you check in, you're in your box, you're in your room. So now, just as the demographics are merging at experiential hospitality, so too are the asset classes. So you see hotel coming into outdoor hospitality in droves. I mean, they're here to stay, folks. It's not some little trend. It's not some microeconomic trend. Hotel is looking at the outdoor hospitality space and recognizing the enormous opportunities. And with that, we see more and more articles, more and more data every single day from both the RV and hotel industry that's saying, wow, this is not just something that's trending or happenstance. This is a movement. It's a societal movement. And we as an industry, hotel, RV, and as we believe collectively as experiential assets, we have to serve and be of service to everybody across the entire spectrum. That, again, is what really gets me excited, because any place you can stay is experiential. Hotel,
Yes.
marina, RV park, it's all experiential. The guest checking in is always an experiential conversation. How they are when they're in not just your place, but also the entire community, that's an experience. And it's really fun to be a part of it at this stage, and this kind of overlap of asset classes and demographics, to kind of understand what that looks like for a business owner, and to be able to recommend, let's try this, let's be aware of this, let's have an entirely new thinking, go outside the box. Hate to use the phrase, but that it kind of fits, and just say, okay, let's not talk about where we've been, let's talk about who we ought to be in this day and age.
Yes.
That's the fun about what you and I get to do with EXPITALITY, is help steer that narrative towards, let's imagine new things that we haven't thought of before. It's so fun.
Really like the way you said that, Randy. Yes, it's like we're dreaming a new dream, right? Leaving
Totally.
the past. It's interesting because in some ways we are, like you mentioned, we're returning more to simplicity. And I think it's the core of who we are. It's not the past. It's not going backwards. It's almost releasing those stories and then opening up to what's possible. And I love the way you mentioned the mixture of these asset classes, because that literally physically enables any demographic to experience things they couldn't before. And we talk about, ADA compliance at facilities, and how important it is to be able to have anyone from any background, any age, any ability to actually, like, I'm thinking of the Dude Ranch, okay, because we've been engaged recently with this opportunity and these kinds of assets. And so I was thinking, the people that maybe normally couldn't access that environment comfortably, we're going to make sure that they can. People that maybe couldn't get on a horse or get on an ATV or get on a boat, or you want to go and have these experiences, but you don't want it to be painful and difficult. You want to have your choice of a hotel or a tent, or whatever degree of luxury you're wanting, or to completely rough it. So when a property perceives the opportunity to serve in that way,
Right.
that it turns you into a 5 different properties, right? You're really expanding your own dream and vision. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with all said, and you and I have the luxury of having many hours talking about this stuff. That's why it's so fun to share with some other folks as well. But it's really interesting to me as well. Everything you just talked about is so true. And I think what we have found, you and I, in our journey with Experientiality, is that the owners of these certain assets, whereas they may have thought, well, I'm this, and this is what I've been, and how do I get more people? We're finding that when we introduce kind of a loftier level of service and programmatic behaviors and different things to offer to their guests, we're not finding them to be resistant. They're saying, I hadn't really thought of that. That sounds interesting to me. That's the fun thing about, I think, what we're doing right now is I think we would both agree completely that the clients we serve today want to have those conversations. We're not having to force it upon them. They're saying, I hear about this experiential thing, and you guys say you do experiential. What does that mean? So we have the opportunity to visit with them about what it means to, as you said, expand your horizons from what you were, imagine possibilities that maybe you haven't thought of before. It's fun to help their creative process, to see them get excited about saying, I can do some fun stuff I hadn't thought of before. What a fun time to be in the industry.
Yeah, it's really, I agree with you. I think as you were speaking, I was thinking, it may be everyone's mind is just opening up. And if you're in hospitality at whatever level that is, marina, hotel, whatever it is, dude ranch, anything, you really are there because usually you have a heart for hospitality, however you define that, right? So when you start thinking, when you get out of your head around, I am a hotel of this nature, or this is what we do, it really opens you up to understanding how you can better serve. And I think most business owners at their very core, that's what they want. They want to serve more people. They want to be more hospitable, but you can get locked into these paradigms and these, like you were saying, boxes of, I am a hotel. This is how I operate, right? This robotic kind of thing. And experiential hospitality not only opens up opportunities for the guests, but as an owner operator, you get to start thinking more creatively. And instead of going out and starting another business, you get to expand on what you're already good at and find creative ways to do that. And it really is, it just becomes fun.
Well, the other fun thing, the other, well, that's the magic, I think, that I think is very appealing. You just touched on it, which is, as a business owner in experiential hospitality, any hospitality field, what do you want to do? You want to be profitable, and you want guests to be happy and to return. So isn't it interesting when you can look at that very matrix and say, what if we added electric bikes to your property? What if we added this certain accommodation? All of a sudden, these non-room revenue categories, which we refer to as ancillary revenue, all of a sudden you have all these new things for your guests to do, and they all make you more money. So what did you just do? Instead of just saying, I'm a hotel, I need more heads and beds at this certain rate so I can get at my bottom line. Now we're just encouraging them to think, but what if I added this experience and this and this? So what's the end result? Very much happier guests and a lot more money in your account, because you've diversified. You've got this base, the base camp from which you can do all these things. We just simply want to help businesses understand, what are those other things? What are those next level services? Because every time I add a service that makes a guest happier, it's also more money in my pocket. And haven't I just done my best as a businessman? Happier guests paying more money. It all comes back to the experiential mantra.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking about like the customer journey, right? The guest journey. And I was thinking how I always think how things relate to children. I don't know, but like you think of the day in the life of your child, it's no different than a guest. You make it so, as a business owner, you think of milestones perhaps, but when you're dealing with getting a child through a day, you think of the transitions. All you think about is, how do I get them out of bed to the table and to school or wherever they're going, right? In a way It maintains my brand, right? My level of cheerfulness or what I want, where I want their mind to be. So in hospitality, it's the same thing. You really are thinking, maintaining the brand messaging. And most people honestly don't even really understand what that is. So we can help them with a deep dive into that. And then your guest transition from the moment they leave their home to your property, that's where it begins, right? How do
Totally.
I facilitate my brand messaging to make sure that they know we're connected and that I'm holding their hand all the way here, however, whatever vehicle they're in, plane, train, or automobile, and then you help them through that entire journey. And then how do I move them from breakfast to lunch? The electric bike, how do I move them from this area of the property to this area? What are their choices? What is that experience like? That's what matters.
Yeah.
That's what all of the ancillary experiences, services, and revenue. And it just becomes a delight the entire time. So very fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, and once again, what happens to that brand or that private label, whatever that business might be? It isn't that all of your guests are going to use the weight room or the pool or the golf course or the electric bike or this or that. It's not like they're going to use all of those, but you create the opportunity where if they so choose, they can. So you've given them the freedom to choose and self-curate what that experience is going to look like. And I think what we've understood so far is these different revenue sources have a direct and dramatic impact on the bottom line. If you can provide options, you're ahead of the game. When people use those options, you're even further ahead of the game. And again, it still goes back to the very basic thing. What things can we do that are creative that maybe haven't thought about before to elevate? And that's what we exist. That's why we exist. That's what Experientiality does. Let's look at it from a new lens, throw out convention, forget where we came from, and let's talk about where we're going to and why. That's the magic. We get to create something that, and it's kind of stretch creative wings in a way that makes intuitive sense, because once again, for the owners to say, so by doing these things, I get to make more money, and I have the happiest people that will leave me the best reviews, who will tell their friends about us, who will do the viral thing, post good reviews, and I'm getting paid more to do that. Okay, sign me up.
And one last thing, here's the challenge that we are going to have. This is our kickoff, okay? And
Right.
we had an agreement that we would stay to a certain time. I'm not even going to say the time limit, because I think we're always going to cheat on that, because it's so much fun to talk about.
Yeah.
The reason it's fun to talk about it is because we're actually out there doing this, and seeing our experience becomes the experience of watching people grow. And as people grow, their businesses grow, everybody is happier. When you were talking about, I just want to mention one more thing about not everybody is going to use the weight room or the electric bike or whatever. But as you move by those things, how does that guest feel? They're feeling like, wow, they're taking into consideration all of my potential needs. Wow, maybe my husband would like that, or my kid would love that, or, my sister. And you feel cared for, you feel like you matter. And how many places can we go where we feel that? People are hungry and starving for that, to feel like they're seen, they're heard, they're noticed, they matter, and we're thinking about them. So
yeah, and it's about intention. If I'm a guest and I see the weight room, I see the little tapas bar, I see all these different things, the electric bike. To your point, again, I may not do those things. What it tells me as a guest is ownership or management cared enough about me to think about these things for me and give me those options. So as much as anything, it shows that they're interested in a great guest experience. I may not do all those things. I may do all of them, and I probably would actually, but at least it shows a level of care, foresight, planning, and good diligence to make sure that they're on top of their hospitality practices. It really sells a brand very, very well.
yeah,
They thought of me, is what that brand says.
that's exactly right. And they care how I feel.
Yeah.
So I think that we've shared basically what experience, and it is interesting when you ask different people in the industry, what is experiential hospitality? I've been paying attention to that, and everybody has a little bit different take on it, which is really a positive thing, I think, because it means that we can define this and each person can define it for themselves. Like, what do you want to see happen? So our intention with this weekly show is to bring some insight to the industry and just really share what we are experiencing out in the field on a day-to-day basis every week. I think we're learning as we work with people to help them, and we'll be able to hopefully share things that will make a difference to whoever listens to this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess just one, I know we keep saying one more thing. So I promise this will be the last thing I add to it. But the other great thing about this, like you and I were just talking about the other day, is we keep finding new products and new services and new vendors that are upping the game each and every day to serve this. And that's just proof that it's not a static thing at all. So our job at Expeitality, and by the way, none of this is theory. This is a practical application. We're doing this actively daily with clients. So it's not theory. This is what we do. Is every time this new thing pops up, whatever it is, it's our responsibility at Expeitality to research that, find out what it is, what's the application. Every day we get to play with stuff. Every day there's something new, and it's all about bringing more options to the business owner and the guest. I mean, what a creative place to be. What a
It
creative.
is, and we'll be sharing that, like different things that we're doing, what's working, what we learn, what's not working, and the impact that it makes. And what works at one property obviously isn't going to be appropriate for another, but we'll share everything that we can. And I'm really excited about this opportunity. Thank you for your time and for being here. And we will be here every Friday morning, regardless of where on the planet we are, right? We're committing.
Yes, we are.
9 a.m. Mountain, and that obviously is at this time 8 Pacific, and whatever it is for y'all wherever else anybody is. But thank you again, and we welcome you to this journey that we're on with Expeitality and Talkabout TV. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Bye all.
Ciao for now.